I'm Rebecca, here in Italy, and I am a carer of a special needs cat, Blue the Blair.
My name is Ashley. This is Thor. He was born without his front legs. I am a retired vet tech of 10 years, and I loved collecting little handicap dogs.
My name is Laura Pleasance. I live in Montreal, Canada, and I adopted Amira. She is a two-legged street dog from Thailand.
My name is Amy, and this is Sweetener. Sweetener is a 5-year-old cat living with FIV and a congenital face malformation. He's a pretty anxious cat. He has a lot of treatment, so he takes up a lot of care, but it doesn't matter. We love him just the way he is.
Perkenalkan, namaku Yosi. Umurku 35 tahun. Aku orang Indonesia. Dan ini kucing kesayanganku yang sudah aku anggap sebagai anakku sendiri, namanya Michael. Dia sudah berumur 2 tahun sekarang. Kami saat ini tinggal di Taiwan.
Hi there, I'm Carolyn Elmore. This is my cat, Orion. He likes his ears scratched. This is my cat, Orion. Oh boy, there we go. Orion has myotonia congenita. He was a foster of mine, and he's my only foster fail, the only cat we've kept. And he is just a great guy.
My name is Olivia, and I've been working with horses for over 50 years. I started riding when I was just 2 years old. My uncles were horse traders, so I spent many years recovering and training horses for them. During COVID, my family and I went to Iceland, where one of my family fell in love with horse riding. After we came back to the UAE, we found Louis for sale. He was such a lovely horse and needed to be rescued. So Louis became the family's first competition horse here, with many successes.
We don't know what Blue has as an overall name for a condition. What we know is that she has lots of symptoms that result in the way that she looks. So she was born very, very small. She presented as just kind of a very strange looking kitten. And then probably about 3 months in, that's when she started to go what we call lame. So she was having trouble walking. She presented with this kind of stooped down posture. She was licking her paws a lot, resulting probably because she was in pain. And she just didn't grow. In fact, she did the opposite. She started to lose muscle mass. Her bones started to slightly fuse together, so she's got some kind of fusing bones in her neck here, which then causes what's called trismus, which is where the jaw locks because the nerve in the neck is trapped. She lost a lot of her teeth just probably because they were quite weak and they fell out. She's about the size of a small rabbit. So one of our followers said she looks a bit like a shrimp. So she's got quite this kind of curved back here. Her back legs are pretty strong, but her front legs are very kind of almost like triangular shaped, where they've actually fused at the joint in the shoulder here. So her shoulder blades at the top here are almost touching. And she can walk. She walks a lot, but she has kind of like a waddle walk. So essentially, we don't know what she has. She doesn't have a name.
Found him online. A lady was selling him for $100, and he had his legs were broken and upside down. The lady claimed he was born like that. And when we got him, he couldn't lay down. He couldn't get comfortable. So we actually had his legs amputated off so that he could stand up all the way, that he could lay down all the way. He also has a couple of different diagnoses. I'm not sure the name of it. His abdomen is so tight that his genitalia kind of sticks out all the time. So he's got it's not just the legs, it's the muscles and different things that come with, being born different.
And her story was horrific, just broke my heart. I was scrolling on Instagram and I was on the Soy Dog Foundation Instagram page, and they had just brought in a senior two-legged street dog. So she was born without legs, and they figured she was around 9 years old. She has had litter after litter after litter out on the streets, and someone had shot her in the head. So she had at least a thumb-sized hole over her left eye, and it broke my heart into a million pieces because her tail kept wagging. Every time one of the soy dog workers would come near her to wrap her head or to dress her wound, her tail was just wagging. She still trusted them. And it broke me right there. And I told my husband, we're getting another dog. And he said, no, we're not. And I said, yes, we are. And I reached out to them immediately. And I said, if she ever, is well enough to leave the shelter, we'll take her here in Canada, like if she ever can. But not just her head had problems. She also had really bad kidney disease and liver disease from eating garbage, probably for those 9 years. And they told me right away, she will never be well enough to leave the shelter. She'll probably be one of the lifetime dogs we have here. And I kept calling, and I would ask for videos for her, and some miracle happened after 6 months, and they said her kidneys were showing almost, perfect levels, and her liver had healed itself somehow. And they said she's healthy enough to leave the shelter, and we flew her 22 hours from Bangkok to Montreal.
Sweetener has FIV, so feline autoimmune virus, and congenital face malformation and congenital eye disease. So this means that his eyes are a bit deformed, just so his face. So his bone structure is very different from all the other cats. So that's why he looks just the way he is. And for FIV, that means that he's more prone to infection with any infection. So we always have to keep track on his health with multiple vet visits per month to make sure that he's in good health. And for his eyes, the congenital eye disease makes that his eyes are always watery. So as you can see, he has a lot of buildup with his eyes. So I have to clean them multiple times a day. Even during the night, I have to wake up to clean them, because if not, he's gonna have an infection. And 3 years ago, he had an infection that made him blind. So yeah, it takes up a lot of care.
Michael lahir dengan kelainan di mulutnya, yaitu langit-langit lunak yang retak, langit-langit keras ganda, dan lidah ganda yang membuat dia tidak bisa makan dan minum dengan normal dan tidak bisa menyusu induknya sendiri. Jadi, dari lahir aku yang membantunya memberi susu dengan menggunakan botol susu.
He has a genetic condition called myotonia congenita, which is found in humans and other animals, dogs. It's the same thing as the fainting goat syndrome, or it causes. I explain this on a very non-veterinarian student level to people that his brain is fine, his body is built fine. It's down to the proteins in that send the messages from the brain to the muscles. So he'll have contractions of his muscles, either from being startled or just involuntary movements they have. You go to pet an animal and its ears kind of go back before you get there. They just have something like that will cause them to freeze up there. So they'll have these constrictions of muscles, and it just takes a while for it to let go. A contraction of the muscle.
Louis has chronic laminitis, probably caused by myself having little knowledge of the condition. In the UK, it is mainly a pony condition. It was caused by him being fed too much feed containing sugar and starch.
We did blood tests, they all came back fine. We thought it might have been rickets at the beginning. She had ricket-like symptoms, but her vitamin D levels were normal, her bloods were normal. We did scans to find out if she had a portosystemic shunt. It wasn't that for the liver. It wasn't that. Unfortunately, the next level was to give her an MRI or CT. But we can't put her under sedation because she has quite bad reactions to certain medications. We can't go to that next level of finding out what is wrong with her.
We never got a real diagnosis just because our vets really had never seen a dog like that before. They had never seen a dog like Turbo before without his front legs either. So it was very, very new to them.
So Sweetener was diagnosed with FIV when he was 2 years old, so we took 2 years to have the diagnostic. Before that, we didn't know that he had it. So in 2022, he had a period where he was always sick, doing seizure, everything. He was always down and it was not the same cat anymore. So I bring him to the vet. He spent 3 weeks hospitalized with vet care. And that's when we learned that he had FIV and a really big infection. So that's how we know.
Perjalanan Miguel sangat tidak mudah dan penuh dengan perjuangan. Dokter tidak memberi diagnosis yang signifikan karena kondisi Miguel sangat langka. Mungkin saja Miguel ini adalah parasitic twins, janin yang tidak membelah dengan sempurna, atau dia menyerap janin yang lain. Saat Miguel berumur 3 bulan, kita pergi ke rumah sakit hewan terbesar yang peralatan medisnya lebih lengkap. Di sana, kita melakukan serangkaian medical check-up, tes darah, X-ray, dan lain-lain. Dan saat itu juga, dokter bisa mengambil tindakan untuk meremove lidah gandanya. Lalu, saat Miguel berumur 6 bulan, kita melanjutkan lagi pemeriksaan lebih menyeluruh dengan melakukan CT scan agar kita bisa melihat detail mulutnya. Tetapi pada akhirnya kita tidak dapat melakukan tindakan karena kondisi langit-langit kerasnya ganda, dan itu adalah tulang dan tumbuh gigi. Dan saat itu juga aku memutuskan untuk mencabut gigi yang tumbuh di langit-langit kerasnya dan memutuskan untuk memasang selang makan selama beberapa waktu. Saat ulang tahunnya yang kedua tahun, aku membawanya lagi untuk melakukan medical check-up rutin dan sekalian CT scan lagi untuk melihat kondisi langit-langit lunaknya. Dan kabar baiknya, dokter memberitahuku jika dia punya metode untuk menangani langit-langit lunaknya yang retak.
So in his diagnosis, I was fortunate because not only did I foster with the SPCA, I volunteered at there's a vet's office near us that also has it's called the Cats of Long Street. Is a nonprofit and they're a rescue, and they do really cool work. And that when all the other rescues have a kitten especially, they don't know what to do with, they send it to Long Street, and they actually have been very successful in curing FIP in kittens, and then getting them healthy and fostering them. I actually had one kitten, not a foster, but a kitten I adopted years ago that had FIP and was undiagnosed for a while. And that kitten had to be put down because at that time there was zero treatment for FIP. But these people at Long Street deal with a lot of things, like cats that. There was a cat that had some kind of major fall, and his face was broken, and they put him back together, and he's a happy cat, and he got to live. And diabetic cats that people have given up on and whatnot. So they're just familiar with things that other vets aren't because they put themselves in the way, you know? So she hadn't seen a cat with this condition, but she knew about it, and she knew a neurologist. So because I was around so many kids, and because I had contacts in the SPCA, and because I had contacts at this rescue, was the only way I was directed to the right person to get a diagnosis for him. I feel like if I just adopted him early, like at 8 weeks, and knew he was a little different, but not what, and didn't know what I was getting into. I don't know how I would have found the information if it wasn't like connected to more than one resource that, as far as vets go, and people working with animals. So the neurologist, examined him. They can do like an MRI or something, and apparently with his condition, they call it it sounds like a hive of bees. Just the when it's an MRI or an they do an EKG maybe, or I don't know, whatever, whichever. If you look it up, it'll show how it happens. But it sounds like a hive of bees, they say. It's just constant, whereas in other animals, it gets quiet. It's just constantly and so audibly, they call it a hive of bees, just the way that his system is working, and his, brain waves, or I don't know exactly. See, I'm not a vet, but and I was actually really upset because I know so little about it that they did not do that because she knew. The vet was like, this is what the cat has. If you want, you can go to this place and get this expensive procedure done, which is not going to change how you treat the cat. And she's like, and I'm certain this is what he has. So I'm like, I don't need to spend an extra $1,000, right now. So, or whatever it was. So, but she did say to me then that she thought he'd only live she said cats with this condition only live 2 or 3 years. And as much as she knew, I don't think she's right with that diagnosis. He's turning 6 and he's fine. He's completely fine. Would cats with this condition die from, that is different from dogs or goats or whatever, is apparently those constrictures can happen to their lungs or their heart, and they'll die of cardiac or respiratory failure. And so somehow cats, it's worse. The condition in a way. Cats are built different they're different. They're apex predators. They have different systems, whatever it is about them, and not a lazy dog or a lazy goat or a lazy human, it just affects them differently.
He was first diagnosed by the vet. The symptoms were high fetlock pulse, x-rays, and abnormal hoof growth. Treatment. Diet. Immediate withdrawal of all feeds containing sugar and starch more than 5 or 6%. Supplements. Biotin, vitamins, sildenafil for blood circulation. Long-term farrier care. Specialist in laminitis. Trimming to reshape the hoof. Shoes padded with silicone supports.
She wasn't really eating her food properly. We had to hand feed her a lot because obviously where she fused here, she was starting to get her trismus. So we kind of switched over to a more liquid diet and hand fed her. If you can imagine Blue, who was needing about 6 months medical care for that first part of her life, x-rays, scans, IV fluids, blood tests, urine tests. We were meeting a lot of dead ends. We weren't really getting answers, but it was more to do now, just kind of treating what she does have, what we know she does have. So she needs liquid food because she can't chew or open her mouth. We need to clean her teeth a lot because she can't clean herself. She needs a lot of grooming care because she doesn't have any flexibility. She can't turn her head, she can't lift her paws up to her face, she can't bend and wash herself. So we give her baths every couple of months, maybe, if she's really dirty. We'll groom her every couple of days with a brush, just keeping this area clear of food because she dribbles a lot because she has a lack of teeth, so her tongue also sticks out as well. She can't pick herself up off the floor, so if she falls over, we have to pick her up. So now it's not a case of having real medical care, it's just actual day-to-day care now.
So as far as Thor is concerned, the biggest challenge has always been that his muscles are so tight. I didn't get him from a puppy, so I wasn't able to, with Ruby and Turbo, I would work on getting their backs to straighten a little bit, and that's where the carts would come in. But you see his is just permanently that way. So with him, that's our biggest struggle, is because his sheath doesn't cover his penis all the way. So it sticks out. So I have to make sure on the daily that, We've got lube for him. We wash it. We make sure it doesn't get infected. So for him specifically, that's been the hardest thing.
We made a little ramp for her to get up onto our deck. It's only 2 steps, and she could do it without the ramp, but we wanted to do whatever we could to make her as comfortable as possible. So the small adjustments that really she surprised us was what she was capable of doing, more than what she couldn't do. So we did the ramp. She came with a wheelchair. They had made her a wheelchair in Thailand, so that came. Wheelchairs have challenges, especially with the front wheeled wheelchairs, because you can't go up over things as easily as a back-end wheelchair. It's like pushing a wagon versus dragging a wagon. That's kind of why I fought so hard for the prosthetics, because I knew it would give her a deeper quality of life, because she wanted so desperately to be off the road and up on the grass where all the smells were. I knew, even though her little nubs were too small for any kind of traditional prosthetic, or prostheses I should say, I called around to, I would say, 25 companies all across North America and Europe, and they would say, send us an x-ray. And they would get the x-ray and they would say, no, sorry, it's impossible. It's impossible. And I wrote to a man in England, so that he uses 3D imaging. It can be made very cheaply with a 3D printer. And I reached out to him just to see if he might know somebody. And he connected me, actually. He's an animal lover. He said he was too busy making, stuff for the children and to do it himself. But he, with his recommendation, a company finally said, yes, we're gonna try.
The biggest part of Sweetener's health is really the time. So I had to quit my job to take care of him, because he requires always to have someone in his presence to take care of him, because sometimes he's gonna pee himself or shit on him. So always have to wash him. His eyes takes a lot of time with the food and everything. So he cannot be alone. So I had to quit my job and be a full-time mom for this cat. So yeah, that was the hardest part, because so we're good for now. So yeah, that was the hardest part.
Tantangan terbesar merawat Michael adalah biaya yang sangat tinggi dan beban emosional serta kesabaran ekstra. Michael membutuhkan komitmen waktu dan kesabaran yang luar biasa karena dia tidak bisa ditinggal. Jadi kemanapun aku pergi, dia juga harus ikut pergi denganku. Apalagi dengan kondisi langit-langit lunaknya yang retak, dan jika tidak hati-hati memberinya susu, dia bisa tersedak hingga susunya keluar dari hidungnya. Selain itu, biaya medisnya sangat tinggi, yang belum tentu setiap orang mau mengeluarkan uang sebanyak itu hanya demi seekor kucing. Namun, secara emosional dan hati nurani, aku tidak tega jika membiarkan begitu saja. Sedangkan aku melihat Michael yang mempunyai semangat ingin hidup yang tinggi, selalu ceria dan aktif bermain, meskipun kondisinya tidak normal. Dan yang paling membuatku sedih adalah sejak masih bayi, setiap minggu kita harus ke klinik hewan untuk check up dan mengambil obat flu akutnya karena sering tersedak saat minum susu. Tapi sekarang dia sudah jauh lebih sehat, sudah tidak perlu lagi minum obat, lebih ceria dan bisa makan sendiri dengan normal. Aku sangat terharu dan bahagia sekali.
I got a ramp for the bed to see if I could teach him to be able to walk up and down here so he wouldn't fall, because he was trying to follow his sisters and he tried to jump off the bed and it became very obvious that was not going to work for him. So he can't, like regular cats, jump off and on a bed or a couch even. Sometimes he goes up a step or onto like the ledge of a little step up on something, and he won't even get down. He's too nervous. I have a low shelf in the bathroom under my sink, and sometimes he'll get himself on that and he's like, I don't know what to do now. So he's not, he doesn't have the physical ability to even climb stairs, which he knows he can't. He doesn't try to climb stairs and he doesn't try to go downstairs anymore. But But it seemed like he was sort of developing a little bit more. And then by the time he was 1, things stopped and they seemed to go back a little. Like maybe he got more stiff. So at that point, but after that, he hasn't declined. Like he was sort of making some strides. I think maybe he was just trying really hard because he was a kitten, but he is limited to what he can do. So what he can and can't do is, like, he can't get on and off furniture. I carry him up and down the stairs. If I put him on the couch, I'm sitting with him, and then I'll put him on the ground before I go somewhere. He generally will just stay on his bed. Sometimes he'll get up and walk around. If he's excited about dinner, he'll come walking to dinner. So he can walk. You'll see a video where he kind of prances, but there's a video, not too many before the food one, where you can see him walking, and his gait's weird. He looks like he's trying to be a model on the runway. He's really got a sway. But that's almost his top speed. He can't get himself to the litter box necessarily, because not always do the synapses go. Like, he'll try to get up and he just can't go anywhere. So I have to basically treat him like an old dog. That's about his abilities, like an old small dog. And people think, oh, it's not difficult. You can't get to the bathroom. I'm like, your dog can't get to the bathroom, and you take it outside, right? So I wake up. The first thing I did was part of our delay. I took him to the bathroom. He wasn't going. I take him to the litter box. After he eats, I'll take him to the litter box. In the afternoon, I'll take him to the litter box. After dinner, I take him to the litter box. The last thing we do at night is I take him to the litter box. He's fine. He has all control of his, faculties. He just can't necessarily get, or at least his bathroom needs, but he can't get there. He doesn't really groom himself. He tries to. He'll just end up with basically one wet leg. He's looking right at you guys. We do have to bathe him. It seems unfair that he's long-haired because he doesn't groom himself, so he does get gnats and knots, but I brush him regularly. But somebody in that video, there were a lot of people who are like, you should brush your cat. I'm like, hey, thanks, Einstein. It never occurred to me to brush the cat. But also, we're trying to reduce the amount of stress on him. He doesn't love being brushed, so we brush him. I brush him most days, at least a little bit. I have this, these are great. This is this brush. It's kind of got silicone things, and it's got it steams. So when you brush, it kind of wets the fur a tiny bit, and it helps it kind of just gather on this. So he doesn't mind this one. This one feels like a little bit of a massage. But so yeah, I do have to bathe him, which is odd. I've had cats my whole life. I've never had to bathe a cat because they take care of themselves, but he can't. He doesn't love the bath, but when he gets in there and it's warm, I can tell he's okay. He's like, ooh. But so that's kind of the extra treatment I have to do for him. Is I have to carry him around places. I have to be a little more careful about his food. If he has treats, I'll make sure I'm with him. This is he could eat these, but I do worry with his tongue that he could choke. So he eats only wet food. He doesn't drink water, and that's not all cats with his condition, but he doesn't drink water, so I just have to add extra water to all of his food. He's well hydrated. But it makes him a really good travel mate. He goes everywhere with me. I can't leave him unattended. So obviously it'd be you can't leave a small dog unattended either. Not for long anyhow. I don't have to crate him or anything, because when he's gone, I just put him on the ground on a bed and he's fine when I have to go somewhere. Luckily, my husband works at home, and my kids are adult-ish age, 20 to 23 and 26, and they're around too sometimes. So there's usually someone to help out with him. I can't go on vacation and just get a cat sitter. He needs more attention than that, so my daughter will take care of him. But I don't find it a chore. He's just the best. He's such a love. He's just a sweetie. He's so cute. He's a good boy.
The biggest challenge has been the financial cost. Monthly, 1 to 2,000 dirhams on farrier care, 1,000 dirhams special feed, 1,000 dirhams supplements and medication, 3,000 livery.
I think it's a great idea. Obviously, anything that helps people is never a bad idea. Take that and run with it. Have a clear kind of goal as to how you're going to help people. Obviously, there are a lot of people out there, like us, we were, that they don't know what their pet has or how to help them. And so if there's kind of a centralized place where they can get that help, that is amazing.
I feel like it's so needed. Back in 2014, when Turbo fell into my lap, which is the dog that was born without 2 legs, there was nothing. There wasn't carts for little 6-week-old puppies. That's how he kind of rose to fame, is we made him this little cart. But there's nothing. There's no community really. We started a Facebook group for 2-legged dog owners, which has been so helpful. But I think a non-for-profit, even in your location, if not, worldwide, would be so beneficial, because there's so many animals all over the world that need just advocated for. And there's, a handful of people on the internet doing their best, and you guys, working hard. But just connecting everybody would just be so amazing. And then having resources. That's the big thing. With 2-legged dogs, I felt like I personally had a responsibility to contact every owner that I saw, and let them know, don't worry if the cart doesn't work. It might not, and some people are just so, just having somebody to reassure you and having a network would be so beneficial to owners, most importantly. But then it would trickle down to all the animals too.
Goodness, amazing. Because even 5 years ago here in Canada, I like to think we're progressive. When I brought her into my vet, he just looked at her and went, "So what are you doing with her? Like, she must not have a great quality of life." My vet said that. So was probably one of those vets who, if a dog was paralyzed or something, the option was euthanasia. That was it. We're changing minds, and people still make comments like, she can't have a good quality of life. And I know some people who have had a dog with IVDD, and they lose the use of their back legs. And before I could even talk to them, the vet had put the dog down. And I was like, oh, it's not the end. So having some place where people could go and get all the information and get help with what's my next step and what is the quality of life of a dog that can't walk or has had to have an amputation. Where can I get these wheelchairs? Where can I get physio? What's involved? What are my costs going to be? It's a resource like we would be desperate for. Do you know what I mean? It's we have, being in the disabled dog community, there are different sites I can go and visit and ask questions and things, but there's no one big all-encompassing. Something especially too with a vet. Do you know what I mean? Having the complete inside scoop on what's going on with an amputation, how long it takes to heal, IVDD, what am I looking at? Could surgery help, or should I not bother? Can we continue to do physio? Is this pointless? And then linking them to the mobility aids that these dogs, you put them in a wheelchair. If they can run, they're as happy as they were before the accident. They follow our lead. And if we show them, let's go, we're going for a walk in your new wheelchair, the faces on these dogs that are running for the first time after a surgery where you thought they were going to be paralyzed for the rest of their lives is like nothing I've seen before. It's the most beautiful thing and such a gift to a dog. And to collect that all and put it in one place, incredible. It would be amazing.
I think it's really great because really often we see uh, normal pet without disabilities, and the cats that cost a lot of money. Um, breed the breed cat, they always get everything, but sometimes people really forget that some cats have disabilities and medical condition, and they're just as lovely as other cats. So I think it's really great to have an organization to help them, because they deserve as much love than every other pet on the planet.
Menurut saya pribadi, ide membuat organisasi non-profit untuk hewan disabilitas dan kelainan genetik adalah ide yang luar biasa dan sangat dibutuhkan selama ini. Pemilik hewan berkebutuhan khusus seringkali merasa berjuang sendirian karena keterbatasan informasi dan tingginya biaya perawatan medis yang belum tentu setiap orang mampu untuk membayar. Dengan organisasi seperti yang Anda rencanakan, pasti akan menjadi berkah yang besar bagi banyak orang. Organisasi ini bisa memberikan edukasi, bantuan medis, dan yang terpenting adalah membangun kesadaran masyarakat bahwa hewan disabilitas pun layak mendapatkan kesempatan untuk hidup bahagia dan sangat layak dicintai. Aku sangat mendukung proyek ini dan aku berharap proyek ini benar-benar bisa membantu hewan-hewan disabilitas di luar sana agar mendapat penanganan yang layak dan cinta kasih yang layak.
I just had somebody else, like in this past week, say, hey, I think this is what my cat has. So the best I can do, and obviously, like, I have a lot of experience with this. I don't have, all the science knowledge, but I have the practical knowledge on this, and it's just really obvious, this condition, when you kind of see it, just there's certain things the cats do, not just the passing out, but yeah, so that's been gratifying to have something out there where they could be helped. I don't know what people do with other conditions. It would be really cool to have somewhere to be able to get more information on this. I mean, I had to search pretty hard. We also did some genetic testing. Look, there he goes. We did some genetic testing through base paws. We actually do a test for one of the mutations. Some of the cats in the group had that mutation, but he does not have that mutation. So he has a unidentified mutation, and a couple of the other cats, it's not the main mutation. There's more than one mutation, and maybe that accounts for his being like a little more severe. I don't know. So Base Paws has some information on it, and there's a couple places that have a little more information on it, but there's no one resource for, hey, I got a cat that's weird. It would be really cool to put in the symptoms and maybe like be able to, I don't, dial down and try to figure out how to get help. I'm fortunate. I live outside Washington, D.C. We have a wealth of veterinarians here and health and education, but I know that even where he came from, they don't have that. Just in Southwest Virginia, there's not as many resources. There's not a vet neurologist a couple miles away. There's not, what we have available to us here, if you have the money for it, that is. So I like the idea of your project. I'm curious how that all, like the structure you guys are thinking of for it.
Offer quality retirement home with an on-site veterinary clinic. Instead of owners flying their horses to Europe for retirement, they can keep their horses close to them. The profit from this business can go for rescuing and rehabilitation of horses in the UAE, as well as public awareness campaigns and lobbying government for better welfare laws. For horses that have a permanent disability or genetic condition, then the quality of life should be assessed along with the owner's ability to provide long-term support for the animal.
All right, everybody, this has been Rebecca and Blue. Thank you so much for having us as part of your interview. Wish you all the best of luck. And thank you for kind of looking up for special animals like Blue. Goodbye.
Thank you guys so much for talking to me and talking to Thor and letting us, let you into our world for a little bit. I appreciate it so much.
It's nice to say hello to everybody with her little nubs. And yes, so thank you so much for all your time. What do you say, Amira? Can you say bye? She doesn't really do bye. She does props. Props. Yeah, good girl. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Say bye-bye.
I'm trying to say goodbye. All right. It was nice meeting you guys. He's ready for breakfast, so we're gonna have to go or things are gonna get unruly. Right, buddy?